And we are live.
Live action coming at you. Who we got with us, Cody?
Let me scroll to the top. Let me not miss a soul. Got Sampy in the house. 351. Richard Cluck, Fishing in Freedom. Big Wrench Catfishing. What's up, brother? Got KP in the house. How's it going, KP? That's all we got as of right now, but I'm sure we'll have more come in. And I'm going to. Oh, sorry. There we go. I was just putting a poll up, and hopefully it worked.
Mr. Steve Ransom.
So I put a poll up. We'll see what it does. The poll reads, how long is it safe to keep a catfish out of the water when CPRing? And Daddy, you don't answer it yet. We'll see what the chat thinks. The options are 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So,
what's up, Dale Hayslip?
Yep. Steve Ransom, Dale Hayslip. So,
that's a pretty interesting question.
Yeah, I just I thought it'd be interesting to see people. I don't know the answer. I know what my goal is as a CPR fisherman, but I don't know, what the true answer is. Because I know sometimes you can have a fish out and him swim off good, and the mortality rate still be high for that fish, even though he swam off strong. So, but Creole Catfishing, Jeremy DeFore is going to be our guest tonight. He texted me about 10 minutes ago, said he was almost home, so he'll be here in a minute. So y'all just bear with us on that. Jason Lamb, how's it going? And we're going to have some awesome questions for Jeremy.
I think it says another thing about that poll question is just what Big Wrench says there. It depends on the temperature.
Right. Well, I mean, there's a lot of variables, but this is just a general rule of thumb. Like, what do I mean, obviously, if it's the dead dog days of summer, I think that time comes down. If it's pretty cold out and fish are already naturally lethargic, it makes a difference. But we'll just say a general rule of thumb. I think most people as CPR fishermen have an idea of a time frame they want to get the fish back into the water. And I'm sure it's not a hard, steadfast rule, but just it was something that I thought about right before we went live. Figured I'd throw up a poll and see what everybody said.
Mr. Chucky and Miss
How's it going, Chucky? And welcome in, Stephanie. So, but
yeah, I mean, I know at times, when we've been out fishing and we've let fish go, and I didn't really feel like they were out of the water that long. It seemed like I had to revive them, a little more than other times.
Right, and and that's because maybe those fish fought harder.
Right.
And it doesn't even have to be a big fish. They just exerted what energy they had. Right. So it all makes a difference.
Yeah. Good evening, Kevin. Kevin Silent Fishing, and good evening, Russell. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, Russell. Hope you still feeling all right, brother. Kevin Silent Fishing. It was great meeting you at CatCon. Let's go see here.
Yes, it was. There's Mr. Mike Greenwell coming in.
Mike G. So, see, Mike Greenwell was trying to get Steve Douglas, let him break in that new bumping rod he had made for him.
That was a nice gift someone gave him.
Was
custom made bumping rod, really nice.
Extremely. So, for anybody that doesn't know, Saturday we'll be live Saturday morning, 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to have a lot of the guys that also are content creators on Barren River Lake joining us, as well as I think Mike Greenwell said he was going to get to join us for a little bit, and it's open invitation. Anybody that's going to be out fishing that morning is more than welcome to come on in, and I will get you the link. You can text me, message me, whatever. I can send you a link beforehand, or you can get the link that morning. It's up to you. So, but
Greenwell says James at Big Cat makes a great rod.
Oh, is that who made? I didn't realize who made it. I don't know who James at Big Cat is. I'm not that familiar with tournament anglers. I'm assuming he's a tournament angler.
He said Jason.
Jason, sorry. So yeah, I'm not that familiar with it.
He's speaking to Jason. It is James. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I get mixed up easy.
Yeah.
What's up,
Cold Creek Catfishing, Billy? How's it going? So for y'all that just came in, of course, I know y'all are wondering where Jeremy's at. He is going to be here any minute. He was kind enough to rush straight home from work to come do this with us. So he'll be up in a moment, and it's awesome of him to take the time out of his day because he's got kind of a hectic life. Lots of work. Right, so Bobby, welcome in. Van, V3 Customs, welcome in.
And Greenwell says a catfish legend, the original bumping master.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know what bumping was until YouTube. So,
I mean, here's the thing. Oops. Something very similar we did when I was young. When I was a teenager, our local river, Barron River, there was a spot on it called Greencastle, and there was locks and dam there, and the water ran over the dam. When I was a teenager, we'd go out on that dam, and we would do the same thing kind of as they do bumping today. We'd let our line down, and we'd let it out, and we'd bump it. Of course, it'd be moving with the current. The current's what would be carrying it. But we fished for catfish like that when I was a teenager off that dam. We didn't call it bumping. We just called it fishing.
Those dams are no longer there.
So. No, it's been tore out.
The river that comes out of the lake there's a lot of places you drag bottom in a kayak. It's a trickle. Richard says Creole likes to make an entrance. He shows up late for a tournament one night, wears everyone out, and leaves early. Mic drop.
That's why you do it right there.
Yeah. See y'all later. I gotta get home. Wife's got spaghetti on the stove.
Yeah. Come in late. Hey, give y'all a head start. Now I'm gonna show you how it's done.
That's it. Dogs over here whimpering. So,
well, this weekend we kind of talk about that. I guess Cody. This weekend, like Cody said, we're scheduled to go live 7:30 Saturday morning. We're gonna have Randall Jeffries from Trinity Outdoors fishing with us. We're gonna have Jeremy Colvin from Fin Seekers TV fishing with us, and Shannon Oxner, which Shannon has a channel. I think it's called
Hippie Catfishing.
But I think he puts most of his content on Facebook.
Yeah.
So he's going to be fishing with us, and he'll actually be fishing a tournament over in Waverly, Tennessee that morning. But he's going to come on and fish live with us.
Yep, that's going to be cool to watch.
And then Mike Greenwell is as well, and I guess Mike will be on the Ohio River or the Green River. I don't know which one.
Yeah, he's been fishing the Green the last couple of trips.
I think the Ohio may still be pretty wide open.
Yeah, I think it is. But the Green's got some current too, I believe. He said it was the right amount of current to get starting on some bumping. So, Daddy, what was your favorite thing you brought home from CatCon?
Favorite thing I brought home from CatCon?
Yep, one item.
Well,
whether it be a reel, a piece of tackle, a rod, anything.
Well, for me, it was us winning that commercial, whatever you call that, the People's Choice for the commercial.
I meant something you got while you was there. Other than that, yeah, piece of tackle.
Well, my wife won $1,000 worth of tackle before we left.
So, but you can only pick one item out of that.
Well, on that was 2 new Hellcat rods, and
3.
I purchased a new Catfish Special 7000, so probably it.
So, rolls and reels, how's it going? Yeah, and the $1,000 giveaway raffle that Mama won, it was 2 Hellcat rods, 3 Ancient Mariner reels, and then a bunch of chunky rigs is what they're called. They're the Triple City Angler chunky rigs. And
and some of the other ones were called, I think, maybe Ernie Fish Snatcher rigs,
Oh, okay.
and then there's
So,
a tackle box full of other stuff.
yep. So they run their rigs different than how we run our rigs. So I don't think we're actually going to tie on many of those rigs. So what that means for y'all is we're going to be doing some giveaways.
Yeah, I think we'll do some channel member giveaways.
Yep, channel member giveaways. That's it.
Yes.
So, uh, anybody that is a channel member will be eligible. I'll get a live stream together. I'll put everybody that's a channel member name on the wheel, and we'll spin it. So, and there's about I don't know $500-600 worth of them. So,
All right.
which because they're rather expensive. That's a lot of them.
They are. And
Tackle's expensive. I mean, they've got their own spook on them. They've got Nocturnal Nation hooks. Well, they're brand of hooks, but I think they get them made by Nocturnal Nation. I mean, they're really well made rigs. So, Sandy, welcome in.
yes. And leader and everything's already tied on them, so that part of it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, no, I mean they're great looking rigs. There's a little different than how we do ours, and we use Demon Dragons. Those are using different brand spooks. Demon Dragons teaches us good, so treats us good. So we'll stick to using that, and I know they work. So, but not to say anything bad about these at all.
No,
I think Haz has got a great thing going over there.
yeah, no, I'm glad he's doing good, and I talked to Haz at the conference, and he said they were doing great that weekend. So I'm very, very, very proud for him.
Yep, and actually, I think we might end up getting to talk to a Triple City Angler sponsored angler here soon.
That's awesome, right there.
Yeah. Oh, there he is.
Mr.
What's going
Creole.
on, guys? What's
How you
happening?
doing, Creole?
Boy, look, slid in hot from work. Let me tell you.
So, hey, thank you for rushing home and taking time out of your evening. I'm sure you would have preferred to come in and sit down and eat a good meal rather than talking to us. So,
Hey, look, usually I'm home 30, 45 minutes before now, but guess which day the trucks decided to run late?
today.
Yeah, you know how that goes.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that band going around your hat tells us all we need to know about how your
Mhm.
workday went.
Yeah, that'll tell you everything you need to know right there. But hey, that's all right. We got it done. We're here. We got it. All right.
I'm sitting there looking at Creole, and I'm kind of jealous because I can see he's got a suntan on his face. You know?
Oh, yeah, the dude. It's been the past few days. It's been mid 80s, sunshine, and 20-mile-an-hour winds.
Well, everything sounds good except the wind.
Yeah, well, no, the wind has been horrible. Honestly, I would not want to be on the river right now. The past few days, the wind has been really bad.
Yeah,
So-
tomorrow here, I think the wind's supposed to get up to 65.
Yep. 30 mile an hour sustained winds, which is just unheard of with just wild gust. So,
That's crazy.
Trinity, how's it going? So, you're actually sponsored by Triple City Angler, if I'm correct.
Yes, I am one of the Triple City Anglers family members, like we call them. But yes,
There we
I
go.
am actually.
So
Awesome.
we was just talking about Mama won a raffle that had some Hellcat rods, some Ancient
Yep.
Mariner reels, different products from the Triple C Anglers. It had a
Mhm.
bunch of Ernie rigs and Chunky rigs in it.
Yeah.
And we tie our own rigs, and
Mhm.
we're sponsored, if you want to say sponsored, whatever, by Demon Dragon. Not to
That's
say
right.
anything bad about another
hey.
brand,
No,
but
absolutely.
so we stick to using that. So I think whoever's our channel members, like Big Wrenches here, is going to luck up because they're going to end up with some really nice
There
rigs.
you go.
We're going to do a channel member giveaway for that. And I was looking at the hooks on them. They use a nice hook.
Or nice.
I can tell you now. In fact, I happen to have some on my desk right here. Now that I think about it, I use basically the standard Triple City circle hooks. I don't use the Goober Times or. I love just these standard straight shank circle hooks, and they have a very mild offset. You can see it; it's
Yep.
offset just a little. This has been There we go. This is, and you can see it's offset just a hair, not very much. This has been one of the most consistent hooks I've used so far. It hooks those fish corner of the mouth every time, no matter what. I absolutely love these hooks.
Is that an 8 or a 10, Jeremy?
That's a 10.
10.
That's a 10. That's the only thing I have in my box is 10s. I don't have anything else.
Hey, look there.
Yeah, look at that.
Thank you, Richard. Really appreciate it. Oh, let me swap that around there. Get the good-looking fella up there.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
So, we actually just got. Daddy bought a 25 pack of the Nocturnal Nation hooks, and I think that's who has make his hooks, right?
That is the Nocturnal Nations. That if you buy the Goober Time hooks from Has, that's basically what it is. It's a Nocturnal Nation hook. It's basically the same thing.
And I've never used any of them, but they look amazing.
Now that you see, that's what like stand 2, stand 3. A lot of those guys, that's what they use is the Goober Time hooks, and they have a lot of great luck with them. For me, for whatever reason, we're thinking it's that really deep water I fish in. The standard circle hooks do better for me in my situation. We've yet to figure out quite why, but they work awesome.
Well, just the first thought that comes to mind when you say that was you're fishing deep. You've got a lot of line out vertically. That line's not got a ton of tension on it because you've already got so much current knocking slack into it. So maybe that standard hook just twist a little quicker.
It might be, and a lot of times too, the way I set up my boat on fish in that deep water, I don't set up where the fish are 80, 100 feet behind me. I set up closer to the fish than probably most people. I'll probably set up maybe 40 feet upstream of the fish, but 40 feet upstream, I'm fishing down a lot. I'm fishing, let's say not right under the boat, but my line is down much more than what most people fish. And that may be some of the reason why these standard ones that don't have such that aggressive offset, I think that's why they do so well for me, because those hooks have no choice but to hook in the corner of the mouth. When you have an aggressive offset hook, especially if you're fishing down, it may hook them tooth patch. It may, it's going to grab somewhere. And I think that's why every now and then a fish will roll on me and kick a hook because I'm fishing further under my boat than most people do.
Well, you just give a tip right there to a lot of people in chat that like to fish deeper water that they may not be thinking about. When you're fishing deep, all right, you cast out, that bait falls back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're fishing shallow, you can afford to set up 80 foot away, and you may need to because the fish may be boat shy. But you're fishing deep water, just because you cast 80 foot away, well, that bait in deep water is liable to land only 40 foot behind the boat because it's falling back at the boat as it comes out.
Yeah, exactly. A good average of what I'm doing, the spot that I'm trying to throw to maybe 40, maybe 50 feet behind the boat, but it's 100 feet of water. So that line is down on a good angle, quite a bit. And that does change the way, it changes the way you do things. It changes the way fish hook up. It changes the rigs just a little. You've got to account for that depth of water.
Yes, for sure.
So, and you don't have to worry about spooking a fish when you're in 100 foot of water.
No.
You're not going to spook a fish at 100 foot deep with your boat.
No, they don't know I'm there. In fact, I fish in depths that, color doesn't matter. I mean, catfish aren't line shy to begin with, but they really can't see it in that deep. They don't have any light penetration at 80, 100 feet of water. It's feel and smell. That's all they've got to work with. And in the case of using any kind of line rattles, you are getting that sound, that vibration. But as far as any color, no, makes absolutely no difference. Right. Not for me.
And we fish, a lot of the year, the majority of the year, we fish, 5 to 12 foot of water.
Oh, wow.
So I'm worried about them, my trolling motor mainly. Not so much the
I
shadow.
can understand that.
I worry about the trolling motor because we're dragging baits, disturbing them, and so I want to get those. I run those planer boards out as far as I can.
Mm-hmm.
I let those center lines out as far as I can. Now, when we're dragging in the winter, sometimes we'll be dragging 30, 40 foot of water. Also, I don't care to drop them straight down and let them drag, because even at 30, 40 foot of water, I don't think it makes a huge difference. But that shallower stuff,
I don't know. I tell you, I've caught a lot of fish suspending baits in 40 feet of water. So obviously a boat doesn't spook them all that much, because I'm spot locked and the trolling motor's making all kinds of noise. I'm spot locked, suspended under the boat, and I've caught plenty in that depth. So.
Well, I put a poll up, and I'm gonna check the results, and I want to get your answer.
Okay.
It was just something that kind of come to mind right before we started the live, and the poll reads: how long is it safe to keep a catfish out of the water with when CPRing the fish?
Ooh.
And the options were, and you can just answer it freely. I had to put options in though for the poll.
Sure.
Was 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I realize the weather is going to change that, but just like a good general rule of thumb, if you want to give advice to somebody who's new to catfishing and wanted to CPR fish.
I mean, naturally, unless it's in very cold conditions, I'm going to say about 2 minutes. I really don't want to have a fish out the water for much longer than that. I have, but it just takes quite a bit of reviving and holding on to them before I'm comfortable with letting them go. But I would definitely stick more to the 2 minute range, if possible. 2-3 minutes. That's about the limit. I mean, if by the time you unhook them, weigh them, measure them, take pictures, look, it takes time to do all this stuff. It really does. And that's why I believe in having a little bit of a process, having everything where you need it. You don't have to go looking for anything. If you have a little process worked out in the boat where everything just kind of moves along, you can do all those things in a minute or two, really easy. But when you got to start like, well, hey, where's the fish grips? Hey, where's the pliers? When you got to start doing all of that, 2 minutes turns into 5 really fast.
So, yeah, and my goal is always to get it back in the water as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. I think if you're under the 5 minute mark anywhere, and you're not fishing maybe an area that it's 100 degrees outside, which you fish a lot.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
So, but just if you're fishing 60, 70 degrees outside and the fish isn't drying out, you're 3, 4, somewhere less than 5 minutes, I think that fish's mortality rate's going to be really low. I think when you start getting above 5 minutes, that slime starts drying out, and that slime does more for the fish than people realize.
Oh, yeah.
It's the fish's lifeblood per se. It's not obviously not their blood, but it's their protecting. It's what. Yeah. So.
Now, and you see, speaking of that slime coat and the hot weather, something that we have gotten in the habit of doing, and I'll imagine a lot of people have to deal with this, but during the middle of the summer, my boat decks get so hot that you could probably fry an egg on them. You can't keep your hand on them. The minute you put your hand on them, you got to take them off. They're so hot. So what we do when we've got, especially a big fish coming in the back of the boat, we'll pick him up out the water and we'll hold him over that deck for about 10 seconds. Let all that water drip on the deck. It cools off that deck before I put the fish down.
I like it. I do
that a lot.
We fish out of a boat that has vinyl floor and then carpet on the decks.
Okay.
So that's not an issue. But I could imagine fishing out of a fully aluminum deck boat like you do.
Yep, Big John boat. That's all I've got. It's a really big John boat.
So that's cool that you've even put that into consideration, because I know touching the gunnels, and we deal with nowhere near the heat you do, but we go out in the summer and you put your arm up on the gunnel as you're going across the lake and you're like, oh man, that was hot.
Yep. And you know what made me think about is, this stuff flashes on the news at home, is that when you're walking your dog, be sure you don't bring them out on hot pavement because it'll burn their paws. And I don't know why, it just got me thinking, like, well, wait a minute, we throwing these big fish on the back of a sheet of aluminum that's been cooking in the sun for half a day that you could cook a steak on. Yeah, we need to wet that deck, and that's how we figured it. Just let the fish drip for a second. It wets that deck up, and plus I can actually kneel down and see about the fish without burning my knees up.
Dual purpose. Well,
Yeah.
Mark says 5 minutes is the key. 5 minutes in grease.
Oh yeah,
He said it takes 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Well,
So I
especially
see
when you're by yourself, of course it's going to take longer to do all those things.
Right.
You know, I've got 2, 3, 4 people in my boat sometimes. You know, it goes faster.
Well, and it's almost always me and Daddy in the boat.
Yeah.
And it, while he's unhooking the fish, I've got the video camera on.
Mhm.
I just click the button while I'm videoing to take the picture.
Yep.
And it doesn't take it's a relatively short process, probably
Oh,
2 minutes.
Yeah.
But when you're by yourself, it may take you that 5 minutes. I
Mhm.
think it's when you start getting past that we start to get into the
But I'll tell you something that most of us already know though. Those catfish are tough. They
They're
are
resilient.
very, very tough. And most people would be shocked for how long you could leave them out of the water. But it's the thing of taking the time to don't just dump them out the back of the boat. Take your time, you revive them. Trust me, that fish will let you know when he's got enough of you.
That's right. He gonna
He'll
bite
let
down.
you know real quick.
Well, I mean, there's been channel cats we brought home that were still breathing and their skin
Yeah.
felt like wet leather.
Yep. Yep.
They're still over.
I've had somebody ask me that question before. They said, well, how do you know? Like, how do you know when that catfish is ready to go when you got him in the water? I said, real simple. He tries to rip my hand off. He starts biting me real hard, and they start wanting to twist. When they start wanting to twist and roll off your hand, they don't give you a choice but to let go.
Yeah,
That means they're ready.
Thank you, Mark. Mark says, Cody, you're blessed to have a dad to fish with. I wish mine was healthy to come with me. So.
Yeah, and since we're talking about getting these fish back in the water and everything, and keeping them healthy. Another thing is, when we catch a big fish, we've got to fight that fish somewhat. You're not just going to reel him in, but you got to fight him somewhat.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to be honest. Most of the time, I try to get that fish dip netted as quick as I can. Because I do not want to wear him completely out before I bring him in the boat.
True.
I think that's probably harder on them than holding them out of the water for 5 minutes.
Right. Well, but also it's not horsing them. There's a fine line there.
Yeah. Because if you horse them, however hard you try to pull, they're going to try to pull that much back. Right. If you lead them to the boat, you don't wear out the fish nearly as much. It's not so stressful on them because you're putting a little pressure on them, letting them come to you. Especially us that we fish in such deep water all the time. I've got a long way to bring them to the boat, and they got to come a long way up. So taking my time with them assures that I shouldn't have to burp them or do anything crazy once I got them to the top.
Right.
But I rarely have to physically burp a fish. I've only had to do it maybe 2-3 times over the years.
So, and the thing is, it's on bigger fish. I actually think a smaller fish that it's not as exerting for you to reel them in can survive longer. These big fish, they're older. I mean, it's obvious they're older because they got that size with time. Good genetics and time, both. And because they have all that extra muscle, they can fight harder.
Yeah.
So I've had smaller fish out of the water, and they never seem like they miss a beat. They don't ever stop flopping.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you do with them. It seems like they just keep on kicking.
Right. But then you can get that 40, 50-pound fish in the boat, and by the time you've got him to the boat, he's pretty docile. Well, at least until you go take the picture, and then he goes to rolling when your hand's in his mouth.
Those fish on the Tennessee River must be nicer than mine, because them 40 and 50s ain't very docile around here. I can tell you that right now. They are mean.
We fish a lake too, so they're not used to current.
They are mean, especially the fish we catch bumping. And it makes sense because I guess the fish that bite a bumping rig are naturally more aggressive. That's why you get them. They are mean. I mean, it is crazy what those fish do even in the boat trying to turn them loose, man. They'll hurt you if you're not careful.
See, it's odd that you say it because it seems like the 20-pound fish here are way more mean than the 40-pound fish.
I have like anywhere between 25 and 45. It's like that range of fish. They are outright mean. Once you start getting 50 plus, they tone down some, but I can't remember the last time I caught a fish and it just laid there and let me do what I had to do. They always fight me a lot.
Thank you, Steve Ransom. Everybody do that. Please hit the thumbs up. And if anybody in here is not a subscriber of Creole Catfishing, his link is in the description. If you want to see somebody that goes out and just consistently gets on pigs, fishes swift, dangerous water that it just looks like it's a blast being out on. He does.
Yeah, it looks crazy on camera. It really does. And then there's sometimes you got to be there to really appreciate it. You know, about how, and I guess it's no big deal to us because we're used to it. That's what we fish. But I don't think about it, but there's been some live streams where I see in the comments, man, look how fast that water's going. And I hadn't really thought about it, but I started looking around. I'm like, man, this water is kind of ripping through here. we just don't pay it no mind.
Right. You grew up with it.
Oh yeah. It just, it's what we got to do to put the bait in front of the fish. And that's kind of how I, justify everything I do is within reason. Okay. I'm not going to do anything unsafe, but if I got to do whatever I have to do to present a bait to those fish, that's just what I'm going to do. Okay. If I have to anchor in 4-mile-an-hour current and use 24 ounces of lead to get to them, well, then that's what I'm going to do. And I've done it many times, because those fish are down on the bottom hiding from the current. But the problem is I got 80 foot tall of fast water I got to get through to get to them. And
it pulls on that line.
Oh,
every foot of that's putting quite a bit of tension on that line.
You better believe it does. And when you got that much line out, you got to have a lot of lead to sit.
You're not going to hook up because it's going to have to pull all that slack that the current's pulled in. You have to have the lead just to hook up there, I would say, to keep your line taut.
Yeah, and a lot of and that's what wears out reels for us is even with no fish on, you've got to reel that whole rig back to you to check it or to move or do anything. It is so hard on level winds, especially the level wind pawl and the worm gears. It destroys them in a smaller reel. That's why really we use bigger reels than what we really need, but it's because of that. They're always under a lot of tension getting reeled in, always. And it wears them out. If you don't get just the top quality big stuff, that's what happens.
Yeah, I think it's crazy using it just sounds wild to me using 1.5 pounds of lead to hold your line down.
Well, whenever I got to go down to Pickwick, I realized how real it was.
You see this thing?
That's what you were talking about the other night.
This is what I was talking about the other day. Like I said, for those that didn't get to see it, this is a piece of 3/4 EMT electrical conduit. This piece here in my hand is 12 inches long, and it's full of lead. Full of lead. It weighs right at 40 ounces. It's like 38.8 or something. It's just shy of 40 ounces of lead. And I know Sean T. If Sean T is in the chat, he can vouch because he was there with me. We were trying to fish current so fast, I could not get this to touch the bottom.
Wow.
It would not touch bottom. Nope. I couldn't do it. We ended up moving. My anchor rope on my boat is 3/4 of an inch. I could hear the anchor rope humming in the current. The pressure on the water was so much that anchor rope would hum.
Like a banjo string.
Exactly. Yep. It sounded like one of them old bass fiddles.
I'd be so drawn up I couldn't enjoy myself.
Well, we didn't fish there that day. I said, okay, this is a little too much,
So, I didn't realize. I seen you and Tim Scott and stuff talk about 1.5 pound, 2 pound sinkers, and then I was like, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I knew you weren't lying. There's no reason for you to lie about it, but it was unfathomable for me because I fish zero current, and
Exactly.
it just didn't make any sense. Went to Pickwick and went to try to fish, and the biggest lead we took with us was 8 ounces. Well, it was rolling. They had all the floodgates open that day, and I put 2 of them on and would drop down, and the lead, it looked like it was floating. It was going back behind us so fast.
Mm-hmm.
I said,
so
okay.
you've experienced it. You've seen what I'm talking about. I mean, it doesn't. You'd be surprised that water starts rolling. 16 ounces of lead. It'll take that right on to the back.
Yeah, and that's what I was like. Well, this is just Tennessee River. I could only imagine on the Mississippi when they get some floodgates open like this, or getting in a stretch that's not dammed up and it really just lets it roll.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, that. It makes sense now.
Yeah. Well, we don't on the actual Mississippi. You know, the and I don't fish the main channel Mississippi that often. I'll probably spend maybe 20% of my time fishing actually on the Mississippi, but there's no dams for, I don't know how far it is from my house to Cairo, Illinois, but that's the last dam on the Mississippi. I'm 800 miles from the nearest dam. It is wide open, full bore by the time it gets down to me.
Right. Nothing there to impede it. It just
no, nothing at all. No, the dams that I fish, they aren't across the Mississippi. They're parallel the bank. They let Mississippi water bleed off of the river into another river. They're taking water from the Mississippi.
Yeah, and I tagged you in that Tic Tac video the other day that was talking about that that they did that because they were having trouble balancing each river. They were either diverting all of it away from the Mississippi because it was the path of least resistance, or putting up something and just bleeding it off.
Yeah, if you draw an imaginary east-west line right across that spot, you know, that's like my bumping spot. That's a good example. You draw a line. Well, in the Mississippi, from that line to the Gulf is 332 miles. But if you go in the Atchafalaya, from the same line south, it's only about 150. That's where the Mississippi wants to go. And if it had not been for those structures, it would be there now. It would have done it probably in the big flood of 72. Those structures are there to prevent that channel change.
Yeah, and that's exactly what that video was. And I thought it was just really cool. I found it interesting. The way they explained it was nice. And it all was because of a president back in the 60s or something decided they wanted to divert water to the Atchafalaya, and when they cut, maybe it was the 40s, and they cut out some there, and when they did, it was like, well, that's where everything's going, you know.
That was in the 1860s that happened.
1860s.
So the 1860s. Yes, what it is, the river used to make a big bend, and this captain decided that I'm going to help everybody out. I'm going to cut the neck off the bend. I'm going to straighten the curve, and that's doing that is what started the process of what's going on now. Yeah, is when he dug that channel. Yeah.
And Richard says, I believe I don't know that word. I ain't gonna try. Daddy, read it.
Keokuk, Iowa. No, there are dams south of Keokuk. I'm almost positive of that.
He said, or maybe Alton, Illinois.
It might be. I know it's above Cairo. I know that for sure. I can't tell you how far above it, but I know it's above it.
So, and if any Kentucky catfishing here, he's somebody else who fishes our home waters, and he has a channel. So if anybody wants to drop his link, feel more than welcome. He's got some good content.
Yeah. Now don't get me wrong. Throughout most of the year, when everything's I'm going to call normal, 6, 8, 10 ounces, that gets it done for us. You know, depending on exactly where I love fishing current seams. I'm probably 99% of my fishing and my boat is right in a current seam. I may use 10 ounces on the fast side and I may use 6 ounces on the slow side, you know, to pin everything down where I want it. That's mostly what we do. The whole 16, 20, 24 ounces, that's those couple of weird situations like, well, now in the spring, high water, fast water, we're dealing with it now. but I don't want anybody thinking that I spend my entire fishing career hanging 2 pounds of lead on my rod. But it happens. The opportunity is there. We've had to do it in the past.
So what with fishing the current and as deep as you do, do you go with a stiffer rod? Do you go to a heavy rod, or do you use a medium or medium heavy?
No, I use just about every rod I have is medium heavy. I actually have a few heavy action rods. I'm gonna say the lightest action rod I can use that will still get the job done under most situations is a medium heavy Uncle Lou's rod.
Gotcha.
That's probably about the lightest rod I have that'll still perform 75% of the situations. Like the Mad Cats are heavier for a medium heavy. Well, they fit the bill well. I've got some Muddy River catfishing blue cat rods. The blue cat rods do tremendous in the waters we have. I've got B&M Silver Cat Elite. It does great. All medium heavy rods. Yeah.
The B&Ms, they're stiffer than my liking. And I like the medium Mad Cats, but I don't like the medium heavy Mad Cats. And it's for the reason you're saying they fit the build so well. Their medium heavy is closer to most people's heavy.
That's right. I've got 2 heavy action big cat fevers, and those Mad Cats are pretty close to being the same thing as those heavy action big cat fevers. They've got a little more sensitive tip, but it's pretty close.
And then I seen Dominic Hollis said something up here, and Daddy Danny invited us. It told me to come Saturday. He's going to be at Kentucky Dam just for this reason. But I told him I already had plans. Dominic Hollis says, Richard, did you hear the slicker? I'm going to go ahead and use Creole terminology.
Yes.
The slicker were going crazy.
That's what I'm talking about.
So it brings me to the question. Creole, what's your favorite bait and why is it slicker?
Well, yeah. Well, look, when we first started trophy catfishing in this area, which really wasn't that long ago, about maybe 4 years now, we've been really doing it hard. I had an old man tell me, he said, if you ain't got slicker, you just soon stay at the house. That's exactly how he said it. And I was like, okay, whatever. Because, I was an expert because of YouTube back then, before I had my own channel, right? Well, I quickly learned that he's right. That bait just outperforms everything else throughout 90% of the year. It's not that I want it to be my favorite bait, because sometimes it's hard to get. That's just what works. As simple as that. I mean, I've had it outperform everything else by a long shot. And I've used all kinds of different baits over the years. I've had so many times where I had fresh gizzard shad, fresh this, fresh that, and the only rigs that would get hit is the ones that had the slicker on them. It gave me no choice that it has to be the favorite.
Well, everybody says use the bait that's naturally in your water.
Yep.
Well, we don't have skipjack in our lake. There's zero skipjack in our lake. Our number one producing bait is skipjack.
They still recognize it as food, go figure.
And the skipjack we're using are ones we've caught and had to freeze because we obviously can't drive a few hours to go catch them before every trip. So I can go out, cast net shad the morning of, and use frozen skipjack, and the frozen skipjack gets more bites for us.
My theory is, look, if you walk in at home and supper's cooked and you got hamburger, and then a ribeye, which one you gonna eat? That's really how I look at it. That's just, even though maybe it's not natural, I think the oil and the blood is so much of it. They recognize it. Look, it's like chicken. They recognize chicken as food for whatever reason. They do, because if they didn't recognize it as food, they won't bite it.
Yeah. Well, my answer to your question would be I'm gonna eat them all, but
yeah, well, you need the ribeye first, though. I bet.
Yeah,
I would bet.
So, and that's the thing. there's a natural instinct for them to know that that's food, or else they would have never eat it in the first place to find out they liked it,
That's
even
right.
if it was natural.
And fish know the difference. And I'll tell you why. We got a little farm pond like right here, almost in my front yard. We catch brim and everything else in there. We tear those brim up on corn, whole kernel corn. Just you'll catch all you want all day long. I thought one day, I said, I want to try something. I took a yellow bead out of my tackle box and put it on the hook. Looked just like a little kernel of corn. I put it in front of those fish. They'd run up to it and they'd stop and just stare at it. Never would touch it.
Really?
Nope, they would not. I could not get a bite. In fact, I even had my son come over and dip his hook right next to mine with the corn on it, slammed it immediately. They know. They know that it's not food.
They get, nature, it's just the way it works. They have heightened senses.
Yep.
And Kentucky Catfishing says, Cody, that's crazy. I've always had better luck on shad than anything else, but never really used skipjack. We also like bluegill. Bluegill is a tremendous bait. And we use a bluegill a lot in the warmer months just because I can go out and catch 50 bluegill in an hour, and it's quick, easy bait. I think I would like shad more if our average size of shad wasn't this big.
Y'all got a lot of thread fin.
No, they're gizzard shad. We've got a lot of gizzard shad. They just don't.
They're that small. Okay.
They just, I mean.
Y'all don't have those big ones like we do, I guess.
No, you'll see them every now and then, but I've never actually cast netted any of them.
You'll catch.
You'll see them. You'll see them floating every now and then. Something one's killed or something, but they're just hard to cast net for me. So those little shad, I don't think produce as good as something like maybe two stands is blessed with.
But then again, and I see Richard in chat. I know, and look, Danny's in chat. He'll be the first one to tell you they've caught some really, really nice fish this year on putting 2, 3, 4 them little shad on a hook. Right. They caught some nice fish this year doing that. So
and I think
it will work.
I think that may be the key right there. With that one little fish, you just don't put enough scent, enough oil out. But you put 3 or 4, you're putting more scent, more oil out. And the bigger shad, and plus when we're cutting up the skipjack, we're putting bigger pieces out there. I think it's just more scent and more oil going into the water.
Exactly. I think if it'd be me, I'd take 4 of them little suckers about that long, take a pair of scissors and cut every one of them's tail off and put them all on a hook. That's what I would do.
Yeah, and to answer this guy's question, there's a lot of 6-inch shad. We cast net a lot of 6-inch shad, but by big shad, I mean those 10, 11, 12-inch shad that you can make cut bait out of.
Yeah.
Even if I catch a 6-inch shad, that's a single bait.
Now, I will say this for shad the size that he's talking about, for me, because put out a lot of scent, that's where that flapper cut comes in. I love a flapper cut in a shad that size because now you're putting it out a tremendous amount of scent with that same bait.
And Danny, he said, don't try to tell me about it. Tell that 55 and that 43.
Exactly.
And Greenwell says he doubles and triples up on the heads on those small ones.
Yeah. You can definitely use them. Like I say, you just got to be a little creative. You got to use more of them.
I will say this, no matter what the cut bait is, the head piece is my favorite piece.
Yes.
Out of any of it.
I am behind you there. It's not very often that a body piece outperforms a head. I've maybe had it happen a couple of times. It was probably just because I wasn't putting the head piece in the right spot.
Right.
I love a head piece. They stay on the hook. They bleed. I love them.
Yeah. And it's not unusual to catch 2 or 3 fish on the same head,
Exactly. Especially when you kind of hard up for bait. Oh, yeah. I'll hook him through one nostril. Fish will tear it up. I'll unhook it, hook him through the other nostril, and hook him through the eyes, and I'll hook him everywhere I can to save that bait. Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe it's just me, but if a bait has caught a fish, it seems like that bait will get hit more. I don't know if
it was good for that fish, so why not another one?
I think that something about that the other catfish's smell being on the bait makes a fish want to bite it more. because
I think, honestly, I think what it is, especially when a headpiece, I think what happens when they hit that headpiece, they're going to crush it some. Well, when they crush it, it's releasing more scent. So when you throw it back in the water, and every time they bite it and crush it, they're just pumping more of that blood and oil out of it. That's what I always thought it was.
so I don't know. I mean, I've had even and not just head pieces, other pieces, and it seems like if it ever gets another fish's scent on it, it gets more bites. It could just be in my head. There, I don't have any kind of hard data behind that.
Hey,
but
if it works.
Right. And it may be that fish knocked off most of the smell of my hand. And, so then it just has more natural smell in it.
There's one way to figure this out. Well, before we throw that bait out the first time, you taste it. We catch a fish on it, you taste it again to see if it tastes different.
We'll wait till we're up there with J-Dog. We'll let J-Dog.
That sounds like a challenge for J-Dog right there. I'm going to pass on that one. I'm just going to say my theory is right and just go with it. I ain't. No, you could not pay me enough. No way. There's no way.
So and then it kind of brings a thought to my head, like talking about touching the bait. Mm-hmm. When we stop and get gas before going, Daddy cuts up the bait most of the time. I make sure that he hands me the gas pump and lets me put it in the boat, because he's going to be touching the bait more often than I am, and I don't want. I just, if you get a little on your hands, I don't want to touch the bait with it.
That makes sense. I know when I'm filling up my boat, I'm really, really careful about what I'm touching. A habit that I've got myself in, when I get in the boat and we go to take off, I always stick my hands down in that old river mud. And I basically wash my hands with that river mud and in that river water. And it's never failed me. I've had something get on my hands and just rub that old mud in there a little bit, and it either gets it off or it masks it, one or the other.
Makes sense. So, well, we've got quite a few people in here. We got 41 people right now. If you could give them the Creole tip of the day, maybe something different that they're not used to hearing.
It's something I've said before, but I don't hear people say this a lot. If you got to do one thing correct and everything else wrong, if you only get one thing right, that's bait placement, especially for the boat guys. Put your bait in front of fish. If you mark fish, put your bait in front of them. It's real simple. You got to throw out your comfort. Even though that shade tree is a little further down the bank, and boy, it'd be really nice to anchor your boat over there. No, that's not where the fish are at. The fish are there. Put your bait in front of the fish. You will catch more fish on questionable bait, but that's in an excellent position, than you will on the best bait on the planet that's in the wrong spot.
Amen.
Bait placement is, if you ain't got that right, nothing else matters.
And Danny Stone, and that's an awesome tip. I think that fresh bait makes a huge difference, but if the bait's not in the right spot, it doesn't matter what it
doesn't matter. Exactly.
Right. So, and Danny Stone says, I know people who swear by spraying WD-40 on their baits. I never have, but just saying. Mm-hmm. I actually seen the first catfishing video I ever remember watching on YouTube is being 15 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that. And I had bought me some of these yo-yos. It was back when I was still into limb lines and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was looking a video up on those, and I seen Chris Flores running limb lines, and he was putting WD-40 out to do a test. I'm pretty sure it was Chris Flores.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was the first YouTube video I ever seen about catfishing, and that I can recall. I remember thinking
not long ago. I think it was back this fall. Quentin Robbins with Catfish Karma. They did a test with WD-40. He caught 3 or 4 fish bumping with a dish rag with WD-40 on it.
Really?
Oh yeah, go back on the channel and look it up. It was him and somebody else. They were bumping, and he caught a couple of fish on a white dish rag soaked in WD-40.
I watched that video.
Yep.
I don't know what the real reason is, but I always think to myself, maybe it's just that oil ring that it puts out, like the oil from the fish.
Yeah,
And
I've heard a rumor that WD-40 is actually made with fish oil. I've heard that rumor at some. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that at some point.
so Rod Knocker says fish flooded mulberry trees when they're dropping fruit. That makes me think of Willy Wonka.
I'd be too worried about getting in the tree, getting the mulberries. That'd be my problem. I'd be up in the tree. I wouldn't be worried about the fish anymore.
I don't know. I've never seen a mulberry. I don't think.
Oh, mulberries are delicious.
Oh my God, you'll never eat a blackberry again if you eat a mulberry.
So, Amy Thorne, welcome in. Catfishing Freak, welcome in. Let's get caught up on chat here.
Yep, that's what Mike Greenbell. It was Quentin, and he was bumping with James Patterson. Yep, I remember the video now.
Yeah, I remember watching that video.
Yeah,
and
most of us know that half of the bite when bumping is a reaction strike. You know, I doubt you'll ever catch a fish anchored on a dish rag in WD-40. Highly doubt that would ever work. But bumping, beans is kind of a reaction strike anyway. I could maybe see why it worked. But of course, when the fish bites it, it's got to think it's food. So, go figure. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. All right. Well, we are not very far from Chad's show getting fired up. The next live stream we do, well, it might not be Saturday because I don't know if I can do it from on the boat. But next week we'll do it. So everybody who is a channel member, I'll have your name put on a wheel for next Thursday, and we'll do a drawing to give back to the channel members for some chunky rigs and some Ernie rigs. So thank you all. That's just, to say thanks to everybody that's a channel member like Richard is here. So appreciate y'all for that. We always pray at the end of all our live streams. If you don't mind, Daddy will say a quick prayer.
Go ahead, bro.
We'll let you say your goodbyes, and we'll go watch Chad talk.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this day, Lord. Thank you for such a great guest in Creole, Lord. Lord, I just pray that all of us can gain some knowledge from him and the others like him in our community. Father, I just ask you to bless us all, place a hedge of safety around us, and just be the guiding light beneath our feet. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, hey, Creole, thank you so much for coming up, spending the evening with us. I know you're a busy man, and I really appreciate it.
I appreciate the invite, brother.
Chad's channel name is Fields to Water. If somebody could drop that link to tonight's stream so Kentucky Catfishing can find it. Yep. And Kentucky Catfishing, go in the description. Click, you'll see Creole Catfishing there in the description. Click that link, subscribe to him. He is an amazing guy. He outfishes us. He's a fisherman now. I go ahead and tell you, he is a fisherman.
Y'all killing me.
Boom, 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 boom.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much.
Richard says, amen. Creole's great, but I'm taking over this bus. I ain't reading that out loud. Let's put that down.
That's fine. Hey, I'll let him have it for. But hey, I've said it before. I've got the smallest PB out of those four guys. I've got the smallest one. Mine's 63. Well, they're all 70 and over. So
that's bigger than mine. But thank you for that $5 super chat, Richard. He just said amen. But I had to take the chance. I know you've told me before, when you stir the pot, you got to lick the spoon. But you know I got to stir the pot just a little.
Stir it up. You got to keep him on his toes.
Richard said, easy, Cody. Easy now. Well, Richard, Jeremy, go ahead. Give everybody just a short idea of what they can expect from your channel coming up, and we'll end it out.
Hey, we just going to keep hitting the river. We're going to keep chasing those big fish. Hopefully we're going to have a couple of new things coming that we've always done, but we've never done on the channel before. So y'all just kind of look out for a couple of new, maybe a little surprising things y'all haven't seen from me fishing just yet. So hopefully all that works out and I can take y'all along for the ride.
Look, he's going to leave us on a cliffhanger.
Well, yeah.
There we go.
Well, yeah.
I'm gonna get a hold of Jerry Parker. I've talked to him, find out. I don't know if he's been too busy for next week, but he'll be the final river rat. This has been a great segment. Thank you again, Creole. As we always say, it's God, family, and the great outdoors. See y'all later.
Bom peixe,
God bless.
everybody.